On October 24, 1961, a 31-year-old woman named Joan Risch disappeared from her home in Lincoln, Massachusetts. The circumstances of her disappearance were so bizarre that investigators were never able to solve the case. But there's something even more chilling. Joan left behind disturbing and frightening evidence: blood smears, a bloody handprint, a blood-stained towel, and other unsettling clues. These eerie details have kept the case alive in public discussion for more than 60 years. Welcome to Bad Things. As always, we'll examine the timeline, the facts, and the theories to uncover what most likely happened to Joan Risch. Life wasn't easy for Joan. Since the case is very old, the details about her life vary across different sources. However, analyzing the events as reported by various accounts can help us better understand her story. Joan was born on May 12, 1930, to Harold and Josephine Bard in Brooklyn, New York. Harold served in World War I and later became a sales manager after the war. When Joan was 8 years old, she and her family moved to Mountain Lakes, New Jersey, where they would face a tragic incident: a childhood trauma. On February 23, 1939, Joan was staying with relatives during her school holiday. That evening, neighbors of the Bards noticed a strong scent of smoke coming from their home. The smoke was so thick that firefighters had difficulty locating the family inside their apartment. After a challenging search, Harold was found dead in his bedroom, holding a telephone receiver in his hand. Shockingly, the family had cancelled their telephone service the previous year. Josephine was also found dead, slumped in a chair. Their large German Shepherd police dog had also died. A neighbor claimed that the dog hadn't died from the smoke, but had been put to sleep instead. This detail was noteworthy because the dog was highly trained as a watchdog and would typically bark at anyone near the apartment. While it's possible the dog didn't bark because it was incapacitated by gas or smoke, the situation was still considered very tragic, with the potential for criminal activity. This traumatic incident drastically changed Joan's life, suddenly leaving her orphaned. After her parents' death, Joan lived with her Aunt Alice and Alice's husband, Franz Nattrass. Through the formal adoption process, she became Joan Nattrass and applied for a social security number. There were rumors that Joan suffered abuse at the hands of her foster father, although reports about this abuse were inconsistent. In 1952, Joan graduated from Wilson College in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, with a degree in English literature. Following her dreams, she became an editorial assistant at the publisher Harcourt, Brace and World, and later worked at Thomas Y. Crowell Company, beginning a new life. While working, Joan met her future husband, Martin Risch, who was also from Brooklyn, at a Harvard football game. They quickly connected and got married, starting a new life together in Ridgefield, Connecticut. Although some sources mention 1955 as the year of their marriage, others say it was 1956. Soon after, the couple welcomed their first child, a daughter named Lillian, followed by a son, David. In April of 1961, the family moved to Lincoln, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. At the time, Martin worked at the Fitchburg Paper Company, while Joan was a housewife and dedicated mother. She planned to pursue a career as a teacher once her children grew older. Joan quickly became well connected with the community and was actively involved in the League of Women Voters. Today on the internet, she is described as a remarkably stable and intelligent woman who was devoted to her family. The day of the tragic incident. On October 24, 1961, Martin woke up early to leave for a work trip. He planned to go to Logan Airport to catch an 8 a.m. flight to New York, where he would stay overnight in Manhattan. After Martin left, Joan woke her 2 children and began making their breakfast, as she did every morning. She took David to the house of their neighbor, Barbara Barker, across the street, and then left with Lillian for a dentist appointment in Bedford. After the appointment, Joan and Lillian went to a department store to buy a few things and paid in cash. At approximately 11:15 a.m., Joan returned home with the children after picking up David from Barbara's house. By the time they got back, the milkman and mailman had already made their deliveries. When questioned, both reported nothing unusual or out of the ordinary about the location that day. A short time later, a dry cleaner arrived to pick up several of Martin's suits. He entered the home and later claimed to have noticed nothing unusual about the family or the house. Joan made lunch around noon and put David down for a nap upstairs in his room. The baby usually slept until about 2 p.m., giving Joan a short window of free time. Around 1 p.m., Barbara brought her son Douglas over to spend time with Lillian. During this time, Joan was doing some chores, stepping in and out to prune some plants. At approximately 2:15 p.m., Barbara saw Joan hurriedly walking up her driveway in what appeared to be a trench coat. She was reportedly carrying an object that was red in color. Barbara assumed that Joan was simply chasing a child with a red jacket. However, Barbara confirmed that Joan then walked back toward her home. This is now considered the last confirmed sighting of the missing mother. There are reports saying that at around 3:20 p.m., an automobile was parked in Joan's driveway, along with her own car. At around 3:45 p.m., Lillian left her home with Barbara to spend some time with Barbara's children. It's possible that the tragedy unfolded right after Lillian left, as there was a short window of time before she returned. Investigation. Mummy is gone, and the kitchen is covered with red paint. With these words, little Lillian sparked an investigation that still haunts detectives today. She returned home at 4:15 p.m. to witness a horrifying scene. The innocent child didn't realize that it wasn't red paint, but blood. It's hard to believe that this story is non-fiction and real. A neighbor claimed to have seen blood leading from the Risch home. Some people reported seeing Joan walking on nearby roads the same day, though these sightings appeared to be inconsistent. Shockingly, the blood smeared in the kitchen was later matched to Joan's blood type, suggesting a potential abduction. Fortunately, David was safe and untouched. But here's something strange. The investigators found 4 letters still in the mailbox, delivered but never brought inside the house. In the kitchen, a local telephone directory was open to the emergency numbers section. Empty beer bottles were found in the kitchen, but Martin had no idea where they came from. However, none of these clues provided any helpful answers to the investigators. Still, they knew something very creepy had happened, given the large smears of blood on the kitchen walls, floors, and even on the phone. 3 bloody fingerprints were found, but they remain unconfirmed. Police could not determine if they belonged to Joan, as her fingerprints were not on file. It appeared that someone had used paper towels and the baby's overalls to clean up the blood. Despite the investigation, no clues, statements, or possible sightings led to an official conclusion in the case. According to the book, A Kitchen Painted in Blood, The Unsolved Disappearance of Joan Risch by Stephen H. Ahern, some misinformation surrounding the deaths of Joan's parents led to years of speculation about whether her bizarre disappearance could be connected to this mysterious event. A 1963 article from the Boston Globe, which followed Joan's case, stated, "But only a single foundation wall remains of the house where Joan Risch's parents died just 24 years ago. Perhaps it was here where this 8-year-old girl lost her mother and father that the whole mystifying story had its real beginning." Martin continued to believe that Joan could still be alive somewhere in the world until his death in 2009. While the case has remained unsolved for decades, there are different theories that help determine what most likely happened to Joan Risch. Runaway. One theory is that Joan staged the disturbing scene herself to make it look like she had been abducted or murdered in order to follow a plan to run away. She was a confident woman with dreams, and she may have grown tired of her life as a housewife and regretted leaving her job in the publishing industry. However, her close friends claimed that she wasn't the type to abandon her children and that she didn't regret being a housewife. There's something very shocking about this theory. Upon investigation, it was revealed that Joan had recently checked out several library books about disappearances and murder. One of these books had striking similarities to what happened in her own case. The story describes a woman who disappeared, leaving behind blood smears and a bloody towel. Martin, however, explained that his wife loved to read mystery novels. Still, the chilling similarities between the story and what happened to Joan remain unsettling. Road accident. Many people reported seeing a woman who matched Joan's description walking along a nearby highway, Route 128, which was under construction, suggesting the possibility of an accident at the site. According to one reported sighting, around 4:25 p.m., a 35-year-old woman was observed walking with the flow of traffic on Route 128. It's possible that Joan fell into a pit and was accidentally buried nearby. However, no clear report has ever confirmed this theory. Mental breakdown. This theory is supported by Martin's belief that Joan could still be alive somewhere rather than having faked the entire scenario. He theorized that Joan might have experienced a manic or psychological breakdown leading to amnesia. If this happened, Joan could have failed to recognize herself or find her way back home. At the time, technology wasn't advanced enough to conveniently track loved ones, which made it even more challenging for investigators and Martin to locate her. Abortion gone wrong. This theory suggests that Joan may have attempted a home abortion, which went terribly wrong. As mentioned in the runaway theory, Joan had her own plans and might not have wanted to take on more responsibility. She had hoped to pursue her career once her children were older. Additionally, with her husband away, she might have seen an opportunity to follow through with her plan. However, something went awry during the procedure, and in a state of distress or fear, she may have left her baby sleeping in his room. The consequences of this tragic event remain unknown, but the theory adds another layer of mystery to her disappearance. We believe Joan died due to a botched abortion. While this is just a theory, it's based on stronger evidence and statements than the other theories we've discussed. First, staging a fake crime scene and running away seems highly unlikely. If Joan had intended to disappear, she wouldn't have done so in such a gruesome way, traumatizing her family. Additionally, the entire sequence of events happened in a very short period of time. Her son was sleeping, her daughter was at a neighbor's house, and anyone from anywhere could have arrived at any moment to ruin her plan. Furthermore, Joan had followed her usual routine, going shopping and visiting the dentist, which suggests she had no idea what was about to happen. Secondly, while accidents such as falling or mental breakdowns are commonly considered in disappearance cases, these explanations don't make sense here. Why would the phone have been ripped from the wall? Even more important is the blood found in the kitchen. If Joan had fallen into a pit, how would that explain the blood in the kitchen? And if she'd simply gotten lost and later died, why was her body never found? That's why we believe a botched abortion is the most likely scenario. Remember the empty beer bottles found in the kitchen? It's possible the doctor used them as anesthesia before the abortion. Additionally, Joan might have kept the procedure a secret, perhaps to avoid embarrassment or criticism, especially in 1963, when abortion was nearly illegal in the US. This could explain why the doctor panicked when Joan tried to use the phone for help and ripped it from the wall to stop her. For further clarification, listen to what the police file mentioned about one of the sightings that matched Joan's description. Between 3:15 and 3:30 p.m. on that day, a woman described as in her early 30s, wearing a loose-fitting either charcoal grey or navy blue coat with a heavy concentration of blood streaming down both legs, front and rear, was seen walking in a northerly direction on the grass center strip on Route 128 in Waltham, just north of the Charterhouse Motel, beyond the Winter Street cutoff, walking in a plodding manner with her head down. Her hands were cradled to her stomach, as though carrying something, and her general appearance was untidy. Unfortunately, there was a reported sighting of a woman with blood streaming down her body, but no one stopped to help her. If this had happened that day, there might not be a mystery surrounding Joan Risch today, and she could have lived a valuable, fulfilling life with her loved ones. What do you think? Did we miss anything? Share your thoughts in the comments.